All right, everybody. Today we are going to look at graphing tangent. We've just finished doing sine, cosine. Now tangent is a little bit different. So let's take a look at the table. When creating this table to figure out the points, we need to utilize our unit circle. So either find your unit circle, pause this video, find it, or we're going to kind of sketch it out here. So for sine and cosine, we just use the quadrantals. So let's start there. So I know that this is 0 and 2 pi. I know up here at the top, let me zoom in, is pi over 2. We got pi and 3 pi over 2. Okay, and then at those radians, we got 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. Okay, for sine, we use the y value. Cosine, we use the x value, but now we're at tangent. Where's tangent? Well, remember, tangent is y divided by x. So all up around here, we're going to be doing 1 divided by 0 or 0 divided by 1. Remember, 0 on top is 0. 0 on bottom is undefined. So let's go through here and do our y divided by x. So I'm going to go to 0. Y over x, 0 over 1 is 0. We're not going to do pi over 4 yet. Pi over 2. 1 over 0 is undefined at pi. So again, I'm skipping the fourths because we don't have those yet. 0 over 1 is 0. Negative 1 over 0 is undefined. And 0 over 1 is 0. Okay, so now let's go back through and do the ones that are over 4. Those are all located in the middle of each quadrant. So we have pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. Again, this is from our unit circle. And all of these coordinates, like the 1, 0, 0, 1, are the root 2's over 2's. Okay? So we have root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. If I go to the left, the x value is now negative. Y value stays positive. Quadrant 4, they're both negative. Oh my gosh. Bye. Okay, so third quadrant, they're both negative. And fourth quadrant, x value positive, y value negative. Okay, so again, these numbers are crazy, but you're doing y divided by x. So when you divide these two numbers that are the same, you just get 1. So for pi over 4, that's a positive 1. But for 3 pi over 4, one of them's negative, so negative 1. At 5 pi over 4, 2 negatives make a positive. 7 pi over 4, only one of them's negative, so negative 1. Okay, so again, that's the table for tangent that we're about to graph, and we got these from our unit circle coordinates. So let's go and look at our graph now. We need to plot these points. The first thing I'm going to do is take some kind of different color, like a highlighter, and I'm going to plot the undefines. Undefines are your asymptotes. So at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. Okay. So now I have 0, 0, pi over 4, 1. Okay, we know that pi over 4 is halfway between 0 and pi over 2. So halfway there, I'm going to go up 1. 3 pi over 4, so that's this next halfway point, is negative 1. Pi is 0. And 5 pi over 4 is positive 1. There's our undefined. And 7 pi over 4 is negative 1. Okay, so what this is going to look like, and you can graph it in Desmos if you also want to see. something like that. We are going to repeat this across the whole graph. So let me show you how to do that. The first thing I do is my asymptotes. So asymptotes skip every other line, basically. Okay, now I'm going to plot the points that are on the x-axis there. So in between every asymptote, it hits that 0. And then we have to draw the squiggle down and then up. So down one on the left, up one on the right. And then I'll draw each section. And that's what that looks like. Cool. Okay, so this looks very different than sine and cosine. So our domain range stuff is going to be a little bit different. So let's go back up here. So general equation, we graph tangent. Cool. The period is still one trip around the unit circle, so 2 pi. Now domain. Previously for sine and cosine, our domain has been all real numbers. But this time, if I'm going left and right, I have to skip across all these asymptotes. So I'm not going to sit there and do the union thing, like from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, and pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2, and because I could do that for the rest of my life. So what we're going to do is we're going to say it would be all real numbers, and I'm going to use the R this time, comma. However, x does not equal, and now I'm going to list the asymptotes. So again, we're not going to list every single asymptote because there are an infinite amount of asymptotes. So what we're going to do is pick one, and again, you can pick any asymptote. So I'll pick pi over 2. So our domain does not include pi over 2. And now we're going to do kind of like we did for the increasing, decreasing, and sine and cosine, and say plus or minus because there's more to the right and more to the left. We'll use k for any number, and then I have to say how far apart is each asymptote. Well, each asymptote is only pi apart. So that's the domain. Something that's going to be common for every graph is your period and your interval here for the domain is always going to be cut in half. Let's write that. Okay. Now range, however, your graph will go up and down forever. So this will be negative infinity to infinity every single time. And now we'll write the equation of our asymptote. This is really easy now because we have the asymptote equation here. The only difference is we want the asymptote, so x does equal pi over 2 plus or minus k pi. And again, when we picked pi over 2 here, you could have picked any one of these asymptotes. And that's tangent. These little points. So these little points here, the up and the down, is what our amplitude is now. Okay. Let's look over here. Tangent is going to have the same type of transformation as sine and cosine. They'll just look a little bit different on the graph. Sure. For the period, we still have 2 pi for this one. Vertical shift, that plus 2, we went up 2. Phase shift is that section in parentheses, so that's not happening here. We'll do everything else at the end, but we know the range is going to be negative infinity to infinity. Okay, we'll wait on domain and asymptotes once we see where they are. Okay, so here's how I start this. I go back and look at the parent, and I pay attention to this section here. That section right on 0. This is the part that I'm going to do the transformation to. I'm going to take this point and move it. So if my coordinate was originally on 0, but I need to move it up 2, it is now right here. I will have my asymptote on either side of her. The amplitude is still 1, so I'm going to go up 1 and down 1 on either side. So this little section here is what I'm going to repeat across the whole graph. I like to do asymptotes first. Then I'll graph all my middle points. And now I'll graph all my little amplitude points. Make sure your tangent graph is increasing. Down on the left, up on the right. And then draw the function. Little snakety snakes, you know what I'm saying? Cute. Okay, so now let's get our equation of asymptotes and domain. So my asymptote, x does equal. Let's pick an asymptote. I'll pick pi over 2. Plus or minus k, half the period, pi. Now that we've written the equation of the asymptotes, domain is easy. It's all real numbers, comma, x doesn't equal the asymptotes. Love it! Oh my gosh, so fun. Let's do another one. All right, number 2, we have a phase shift and a vertical slide. My period is still 2 pi. Vertical went down 1 because it was minus 1. Phase shift plus pi over 6 means left pi over 6. I know range is negative to infinity. We'll save everything else for after the graph. So tangent we know starts on 0, 0. I need to go down 1 and to the left pi over 6. So that's one little line right there. So for my asymptote, it also had to move over one little line. So here and here. The amplitude is still 1. We would find that right in front of tangent. So for example, number 3, the amplitude is going to be 2. But for this one, I'm just going to go up 1 and down 1 in between the 0 and the asymptote. So here's what this graph will look like that I'm now going to repeat across the whole thing. So be careful, make sure you're going that one little line to the left of where you would normally plot tangent. We're doing this because remember the phase shift was to the left pi over 6. Up 1, down 1. If you need to pause the video so you can finish up your graph, please do that. That's the beauty of having these videos. You can go at your own pace. We love it. Yay! Okay, so for asymptote this time, it's not going to be pi over 2 because we moved. So x equals. So I can pick any of these asymptotes. I like to pick the one closest to the 0, so I'm going to figure out what this is. Each line is counting by a 6, so this will be 1/6, 2/6. So 2/6 simplifies to 1/3. That's pi over 3. Plus or minus k, still half the period, so just pi. Now that we have asymptote, domain is easy, all real numbers, but x doesn't equal where those asymptotes are. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, last one we'll do together. So a couple things happening here. We have an amplitude change. So these points are going to be up 2 and down 2. Our whole graph is going to go down 3, but we also have a reflection. So let's start with period, still 2 pi. Vertical shift, down 3. There is no phase shift. My range is still going to be the infinities. Okay, to start graphing, tangent typically starts on 0, 0. First thing I'm going to do is shift it down 3. And that's all we have to do for that point. So perfect. Okay, my asymptotes are to the left and to the right of it. So I'm going to graph all of these things first, all the asymptotes and all the zeros, before we deal with the amplitude. Okay, so not only is the amplitude 2, so we go up 2 and down 2 on each side, but then there's also a negative, a reflection. So what's going to happen is, instead of tangent increasing like this, it's going to flip, and it's going to decrease. So I'm going to go up 2 on the left, and then down 2 on the right. So my graph is reflected. See the difference? Cute. Let's do that across the whole graph. Up 2 on the left, down 2 on the right. Up 2 on the left, down 2 on the right. Sorry, this went off the graph. Yay! Let's write the equation of asymptotes and domain, and then we'll be done. For my asymptote, x equals, it's at pi over 2, so I'll use that one, plus or minus, k, pi, still half the period. Domain is all numbers except that. That's how you do tangent. If you turn the page, you will see 4 more problems. I lied. 3 more problems. This is your homework assignment. You'll graph these, fill in all the blanks, take a picture, post it on Schoology. See you next time.